Welcome to Civic Warriors, brought to you by Witham. On this podcast, we bring the conversation to you, sharing engaging stories that motivate and build consensus in the nonprofit community. This podcast is about the innovators, the leaders on the front lines of adversity, guiding lights in the nonprofit industry affecting change. And through their stories, we can all join forces to become Civic Warriors. Hey Warriors, welcome to today's episode of Civic Warriors, brought to you by Witham. I'm your host, Brad Caruso, leader of Witham's not-for-profit practice. Our guests today are Sherry Wheelock, president and CEO of Special Olympics Florida, and Marianne Gonzalez, a coordinator of sports and athlete in Special Olympics Florida for over 51 years. The mission of Special Olympics Florida is to provide year-round sports training and competition in a variety of Olympic-type sports for people with intellectual disabilities who wish to participate, giving them continuing opportunities to develop physical fitness, demonstrate courage, experience joy, and participate in the sharing of gifts, skills, and friendship with their families, other Special Olympic athletes, and the community. The ultimate objective of Special Olympics Florida is to help people with intellectual disabilities participate as productive and respected members of society at large by offering them a fair opportunity to develop and demonstrate their skills and talents through sports training and competition, and by increasing the public's awareness of their capabilities and needs. Special Olympics Florida is a 501c3 charitable organization. With all that said, Sherry and Marianne, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Brad.
Sherry, talk to us a little bit about your background and how you arrived at Special Olympics and the passion for the work that you're doing.
Well, as a sibling of two other girls, my dad decided we were all going to play sports, which began very early in actually elementary school for me. So I am very blessed to have background in getting to participate in a multitude of sports and really see the impact that that can have in one's life between, learning teamwork and meeting new people, learning leadership skills. So that was something I've always been passionate about is sports. And then as I grew in my time with both during school and then through my career in finance, I became very involved volunteering with people with intellectual disabilities through my community and volunteer service. And so when I had the opportunity to become a coach for Special Olympics, I thought, what an incredible way to bring both of my passions together. So sports as the platform to reveal a champion in all of us, but especially our athletes. And so it was just really a great way for me to move forward. I then served on the board of directors of Special Olympics Florida and then had the opportunity to be honored to have this role.
I love hearing that. How long have you been at Special Olympics for now?
So my volunteerism has been over 12 years and then another 10 years in this role.
That's awesome. Yeah, definitely dedicated to the mission. I appreciate that. And Marianne, you mentioned you've been involved with Special Olympics for over 51 years?
Yes. I started when I was 8 years old. We first got started when I moved from Miami to Sumter County, and my mom helped get the program started in Sumter County. And my first event was the 50-yard dash and the standing long jump. And I used to practice that in my backyard over and over and over and over until I got really good at it and nobody could beat me. And then I finally moved on to volleyball in team sports, where I was very successful. We went to a World Games in volleyball and placed second. And we went to a USA Games. And when I moved to Lake County at volleyball, and we placed third. So we done very well.
Congratulations. And you mentioned a couple different sports there. Of all those sports, which one to this day is still your favorite one to play?
Well, my favorite sport I didn't mention, which is swimming and golf.
Oh, nice. Play golf? That's phenomenal. I'm a big advocate of golf.
Yes. I have a unified partner, and I have played several years with him, and we're very compatible with each other, and we work together, and we know how to talk with each other and which club to use and where I can go that doesn't get us in trouble.
Got to stay away from the water in Florida in case there's alligators, right?
That's right. Water in the sand.
The water in the sand. Yeah.
The water in the sand. Yeah. Yeah. I'm in the sand a lot whenever I play golf. So I appreciate that, Marianne. Sherry, Can you provide a little bit of background to the audience on Special Olympics Florida and some of the programs you offer? Some things that I think not everybody is aware of is that athletic competition of Special Olympics is really a 24/7, 365 days a year activity. And there's many different programs and ancillary activities that occur that, assist many individuals. Can you provide a little more background to the audience on some of the programs that you offer?
The thing that a lot of people don't know, as you mentioned, is we start at age 2. So we have programs for individuals as young as 2 years old to 7. That's a young athlete's sports play program that kind of builds cognitive, social, and motor skills at a very early age. But we still have 90-year-olds that are competing with us in skill-based competition. And so, as you mentioned, sports is really our primary vehicle to help our athletes have a platform to showcase their abilities and skill sets, which in Florida, we have 27 sports, which is pretty remarkable, that are happening year round. But we also have, as I mentioned, the young athletes programs. We have a lot of activity happening through school programs and curriculums. And then from there, we also offer more of a holistic approach to competition and sports through health. And we provide health exams, nutrition classes, hydration exhibitions, et cetera, for our athletes in over 8 disciplines and activities throughout the year. So I think that married with an athlete leadership program, which is really remarkable. And Mary Ann is one of our graduates and one of our top speakers from our athlete leadership program. But that gives another way for athletes as they continue to grow in confidence and want to expand their skills. We have computer programming classes. We have presentation, public speaking classes, governance classes. So a lot of other additional, resources that probably most people don't know. And all of this is at no cost to our athletes or caregivers, which I think is really critical for our athletes. We have over 75,000 athletes in the state of Florida at this point, which is really a testament to the quality of the Special Olympics programming. I think obviously people see the value and the impact of what's happening in the lives of these athletes, but also in turn, because of the skills they grow in the program, they're becoming bigger contributors into our community. And so it's kind of a win-win for everyone as we continue to see the athletes thrive. And then one more important thing, I think, obviously, is that we are truly a grassroots organization at heart. Volunteers are really the backbone of everything we do. So in the state of Florida, for instance, for day of events, ongoing coaching, fundraising activities, we have over 45,000 volunteers that really make all of this happen for the athletes. So we're really proud of our programs and really proud of our athletes and volunteers. And so it's just a great, great organization overall.
75,000 athletes and 45,000 coaches to facilitate that. That sounds like a large operation. That sounds like a lot to make that run well.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think, because of the volunteer aspect, we have a lot of great individuals who are engaged throughout the school system. There's other entities that help service our athletes, whether it's an adult J training center that is helping with the curriculum, or the mentors that support our athlete leadership program, Unified Partners. So Mary Ann mentioned that, which is a role that a person without an intellectual disability is actually paired with our athletes, either in an individual sport such as golf, where they can play alternate shots, or they can play their own game, but be together as a pair. Or we have team-based unified programming, which I think, again, is another really unique opportunity for volunteering to play on a team with one of the athletes and be part of something that is ongoing in their life.
That's phenomenal. You mentioned something that intrigued me a little bit, and that's when you talked about the healthcare program, healthcare aspect of what you do and how you take care of your athletes and some of the program offerings. Can you explore a little bit more about what your healthcare program looks like, kind of on a day-to-day basis? The help provided for the individuals?
Yeah, so I think the key is that, once again, we have volunteers that we recruit from the medical community. So there's medical professionals that are volunteering in varied disciplines. So we actually offer audiology. We do ophthalmology screenings for we call it opening eyes, but we do sight tests so that our athletes can get glasses if needed, prescription glasses, which we provide. We have podiatry, we have physical therapy, kind of all-inclusive healthy habits. So there's a lot of ways. Dental is probably the biggest need in the community. So our athletes get an actual annual mouth test and then fluoride treatment. So we're doing all of this in service to the athletes because we know that an athlete who's able to see or hear is much better, not only on the playing field, but also in their personal lives. And so actually, Mary Ann has been not only a health messenger for us, meaning someone who speaks on behalf of the athletes and encourages them to participate in these health exams, but also I think she has actually benefited personally from the program. So she's had her glasses fulfilled through our program. She's had sports goggles with a prescription in them. She actually got her hearing aids through our program. Yes. And so all of these things have impacted her life. So I don't know, Marian, if you wanted to share a little bit about your college experience when you realized you needed a hearing aid.
Well, when I first started college, I sat in the front of the room because it was very difficult to hear the teacher and the other students when they was making noise. So I sat in the front, and then I went through healthy hearing when Special Olympics offered it at state games, and I went, and we found out that my hearing was bad. So we got hearing aids, and it helped me a great deal. And we talked to the teacher about, way I can learn his work to make it easier for me. And, he talked about putting on a recorder so that I can listen to the recorder later. And I had somebody that worked with me, and it actually worked very well. And I got through the class, and I didn't have much problems after that because the hearing aids helped with all my classes afterwards. And I did very well in college.
So, I mean, these kind of real life impact are happening through this health program. So we're doing actually hearing exams in the school system right now. So that's kind of a new thing we've started to do. We typically did them out in the community, but we're actually going to classrooms and doing hearing exams. So I think that's been a remarkable, add to the program. And as really important is just overall nutrition. So, really focused on diet and nutrition and important healthy habits that our athletes should be focused on. Sun safety, of course, in Florida, which is a big one. But, all of this is at no cost. And then I think the important part is too, we don't just leave it there. We give them a referral. So if an athlete does have an issue that needs to be followed up on, they actually receive a referral to a local practitioner back in their home, local county or city, and so that they can actually follow up and get the care taken care of as well. So it's a really remarkable program.
Yeah, I love hearing that. And it's not something, I guess, just publicly, I think we hear enough about the programs you offer, about I'll call it the holistic approach that you take, and really just the assistance that you're providing for many individuals for a long period of time too. I think that's also like an understated fact that adds to the exemplary nature of the programs that you offer.
The holistic approach is really critical. And if you really think about it, and, as you talk to other major athletes and across the, any sports industry, they're really focused on year-round fitness, training, healthy habits, eating well. And so it makes perfect sense that our athletes as well should be in that same regiment of taking care of themselves and seeing the benefits of that in their lives. So I agree with you. I think that the lifelong approach is really remarkable. At age 22, most of our athletes will leave the school system and not necessarily enter into a secondary program or, another maybe career yet. And so I think it's really important that many of these Special Olympics programs continue to be a critical part of their life because at least in the state of Florida, there's not a lot of other, resources at no cost for sports and these types of training and health programs that our athletes really benefit from and love. So many of them, it keeps them engaged, it keeps them healthy, it keeps their friendships enlivened. And so we think that this is really important first and primary, in the school system, but also for transition into adulthood. And so, most people say, they use the word kids. And well, we do have a lot of younger athletes. We do have many, many older athletes. And so we're always thinking about how can we keep people engaged? And so actually Mary Ann was one of the inventors or pioneers of the cornhole program for all of Special Olympics. And she also helped with the implementation of pickleball for Special Olympics. So those are our recent adds to the 27 sports that we offer. And we've seen a great gravitation to those from all athletes, but a lot of the older athletes are very engaged, with these. And that's because they're easy access, right? They can be done locally. They can be done at a home facility, at a school, at a church. So lots of options for activation.
Yeah, that's phenomenal. Congratulations, Mary Ann, to you for that. That's great. How did you come up with the idea? Do you enjoy playing cornhole? Is that enjoyable? I know I love playing it, so I could put that out there.
I enjoy playing cornhole, but I got the idea from a friend, and because it was offered in another state, but pickleball, we had the donations coming in first, so that's why we started pickleball. And it was so much like tennis, but it was on a smaller court, and it was more levels that our athletes, it was more available to all sorts of athletes at all ability levels. And so that's why we started pickleball first. And then with the cornhole, it's the same thing. We have the 15, the 21, and the 27 feet, which makes it with all ability level in mind. And it gives everybody a chance to be able to play a sport that they might be able to play that some of the other sports might be too hard for them to do. And people in wheelchairs actually could play cornhole if they go by the rules and keep their wheels behind the line and stuff like that. And, it's just opened up more ideas, and the popularity is very, very popular here in Florida. It's blossomed, and so many people do it now.
And they're unified. So again, Brad, you or any of the Witham employees could sign up and be on a team with an athlete to do cornhole or pickleball or, any of our sports, which is really cool, I think.
That is really cool.
If you go to our website, specialolympicsflorida.org, you can see we have regions. We're set up in the region. So, we're 5 regions across the state, but there's something as local as your local county that you can engage in and find a team locally through our website. And again, it's just an incredible way to really spend time, and you're really going to have a lot of fun.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And on that topic of volunteerism, I know you mentioned this opportunity. What are there, when you think about volunteering in general for Special Olympics, what are their volunteer activities and commenting on, how you get involved, what the process looks like a little bit if you have that. I don't know if there's, sometimes volunteering is an application process. Sometimes there's different things that happen, but maybe commenting a little bit about that would be great.
Yeah, I think, so as I mentioned, the volunteer structure is really important for us because of volunteers, we are able to really stretch the funding that we receive to go far. So we are able to drive 85 cents or more directly to programs because of the volunteer involvement, which is really important for us. And so they can be anything from a day of event. So that means if you go on our website and see like, hey, I see locally there's a stand-up paddle competition coming up next week. You could just sign up to come out and volunteer to help with hydration, or you could help stage the athletes. You could actually give the medals to the athletes or awards. But obviously you could also do things such as I mentioned, the medical professionals. I think a really big draw here is that the medical professionals get that time to really work with our athletes, and they become much more comfortable serving the persons with intellectual disability as a result of being a volunteer in our program. And so it's a really big benefit, not only to our athletes, but I think to them as well, back in their personal lives and in their communities. And then I think the coach is really key. So we have an initiative going on right now called Go Coach. And the auspice is, we cannot start a program. We can't have our athletes engaged without a great coach. And some people are like, well, I don't know sports, or I don't know this sport. But you really won't need to know the fundamentals necessarily of the sport. We just need you to be a passionate individual to want to serve our program and our athletes. And through this, we will take you and guide you through a curriculum. We'll do training, certification in the sport of your choice. and then be able to, set you up for success. We connect people with other coaches that are already live in their area. And so it's a really great model to be able to transition into that role. But that is the role that really is the game changer for our athletes. They are in our athletes' lives day in and day out. They create amazing friendships. I think also important is the unified partner element that we talked about. And that's a really unique volunteer role. But I love it because once individuals come together, you learn a lot from each other. You really grow to appreciate each other's skill sets and perspectives on sports and obviously life in general. But you can just see some of the incredible friendships that have grown through that program. And then, many of our high school level and college level unified partners, are really engaging our athletes in the corporate arena and other ways. So they've been able to work with our athletes since they were younger. We actually have unified champions programs in our elementary schools throughout Florida and in many other states. And so growing up together, you don't see a difference, right? You start to see just, anybody, it's same as, from your perspective, they're just another friend, another person with great abilities, unique abilities. And so from that, we're seeing incredible impact from these individuals who are now leaders in industry. They're leaders in whatever they were passionate about. And they're bringing along, the athletes because they know what value they can also bring into the community. So it's really exciting for that program to have expanded. And we have that in nearly 600 schools across the state of Florida, the Unified Champions program. So we're really, again, excited about Unified Partners too.
Yeah, I love hearing about that. And just, for everybody out there, I know, I talk to people all the time about how people can get involved locally, nationally, in their communities, helping people they wouldn't otherwise help. And I mean, you offer this to everybody and you offer this to have many people be able to volunteer and just hearing, a little bit of what Marianne said. I'm also curious. I'm going to ask her a question in a little bit on this, but, just hearing the impact that it has, is phenomenal. And it's a lot of volunteers to manage. And so, clearly you're doing a very good job of managing your volunteerism because that's not an easy thing to do. And, putting in 40,000 volunteers is a lot of volunteers. That's a significant number, but the impact outweighs that, and certainly makes it all worth it. So,
and I think, from both our team members, our staff, but also the volunteers, I think working, with our athletes and sharing time with them, you'll see, and I think anybody you talk to that's volunteer with us, you get so much more out of it than you're putting into it. I think that's what keeps people coming back, right? Because not only they because we all come with the idea, like, I have all these skills and I'll be this great. Like, I mean, me personally, I came out of, corporate finance and I was all excited about all these great skills that I had to bring, to Special Olympics. But honestly, I've learned so much more about so many other things, whether it's just life or different skill sets that I've seen now in practice, that I think it's really remarkable, again, the joy that we get from our athletes. And so I think from the volunteerism side, that's what really also keeps people engaged and supported, because you're right, it's a lot to not only manage, but inspire volunteers, right? Inspiration is really the key, and what inspires all of us is our athletes. So that's really what makes this all.
Yeah, it's the gift that keeps on giving. I mean, I know myself, I feel better when I help someone else than when I help myself. And, having that opportunity is really the thing that we all cherish, is having the opportunity to help someone else. And I love that you give people the opportunity to help people and to really, make an impact on someone's life. And it's a great feeling in life. It's a great thing in life.
And it's great. We have great partners, from sponsors that have been here since 1972 for Special Olympics Florida. So we have incredible folks that support us, and they see this impact, to your point. And I think you're right. I think access to opportunity is really what we seek here. That's really what we're really focused on. We have, like we talked about the state level stuff, but there's actually national invitationals that are happening across the U.S. There's a USA Games component of what Special Olympics does. And as Marianne pointed out, there's World Games. So, she's competed in Greece, and we've had it, she's been all over the world as a result of Special Olympics. And for many of our athletes, even coming to a state games, it's the first time they may have traveled outside of their county. So I think that's another thing that people don't really, appreciate, is that this really opens up a whole nother level of independence and understanding of the greater community for our athletes, which is really remarkable as well.
Yes, it is. And Marianne, just I want to hear, from your perspective, and maybe give our audience a little bit of background on, the games themselves and, some of the competitions you've been in. Any stories come to mind?
You go out there and you're very competitive, and you go out there to win, but you don't always win, but you always become friends at the end. And that's a great experience within itself, because you don't always come within friends of the people that you play, but you come friends with the volunteers and everybody else that you come with in contact with. And the competitions that I've been in, and like when I went to Notre Dame to where it was international games, and you meet all these people from all over the world. There's so many people that you're playing against that you would never get to meet unless you got to go to something like that. And just all the people, that's interested in you talk to for 10 days, and you became very competitive because you're playing against them. But yet at the end of the day, when you sit down at a meal or at a party, you're friends, and you sit there and you talk as friends. And at the dorms, it was the same thing. And, it was very good.
I love that message. It's not like often talked about in sports in general that, yes, you leave it all in the field. You try the best you can. As you said, you're there to win. Like I'm putting in my best effort all the time. However, at the end of the day, if then you can be friends with those competitors and you can spend time with them and you get to travel and you get to do, live these experiences you otherwise would not have the opportunity to if you didn't get to participate in these games. I think that's phenomenal. And I love your message. It's such a positive tone. And I wish everyone in the world took that message, from the amateur sports level to the kids sports level. I coach 2 kids sports, and I can tell you sometimes it's not like that. Sometimes some of the kids get a little aggressive towards each other. And then even at like the professional level, if everyone just realizes like, okay, like we're here to do our best, but we're not going to make it more than it is than that. We're not going to cause a stir here and have negative energy towards each other just because we're on the opposite team or we're participating in a sport against each other. So I love your message, Marianne. That was phenomenal.
And our athlete oath, as you mentioned, is, let me win, but if I cannot win, let me be brave in the attempt. And very interesting that when I first started, one of our longtime, volunteers had shared with me, because I think as a volunteer or as somebody from a non-athlete perspective, I get excited about let me be brave in the attempt. I'm like, how cool is that? That's such a great attitude. But she just wanted to remind me that, our athletes are competitors though. So that's why it's let me win, because they want to compete. That's important to them. But if they cannot, then let me be brave in the attempt. And that, to your point, is the sportsmanship, the attitude of really appreciating people for who they are, as opposed to the competitive side of things. So it's really a great message for everyone.
Yeah, it's a code to live by, and sports or not, it's a code to live by without a doubt. So Sherry, you mentioned something before too. I just wanted to highlight, which I always think, in the not-for-profit community as a whole, and specifically in the IDD community. Can you talk about how you partner with other organizations? Specifically, you mentioned before the schools in the state and some other organizations. Talk about how your organization partners and works with kind of different organizations within your ecosystem, because I find that there's a lot of value in that, as well as I believe you do a great job of it. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So first, the school system side of things, as we mentioned, is really critical and important focus for us. We offer many different programs that can be done within the school program, where we have curriculums that we provide and actually train the coaches or teachers that will be doing those programs at the school level. And then we have a lot of resources that we add to that. So we will provide the equipment that they need for doing, for instance, our Little Elites program or our Rising Stars program, which are sports related training and recreational models. Then if they choose to also want to do competitive level at the school system, we will actually provide all of the transportation, the food, the uniforms for our schools. And I think an important part of that to note is that Florida High School Athletic Association is a big partner with us. So we have our own division within the FHSAA. And so for our athletes to be able to compete at that level and to be recognized by their peers in the same sports programming, they will get the letter in their home school. They get the same trophies, their same competitive skills. That really builds the inclusive nature of what we're doing. And in addition, we have the Unified Champions model in our school system, which means it's not just sports played with and without intellectual disabilities, but they're also doing important activations like anti-bullying campaigns. They're doing service learning projects together. They're building athlete leadership skills or just leadership skills, at large. And so this is really a remarkable program, as I mentioned before, that's kind of changing the whole atmosphere at the school level for inclusion. And that's something, really important for the future of all of us. And so the schools are a very big partner with us, but we also do other relationships, as you mentioned. We work with, the Goodwill or Easter Seals, United Cerebral Palsy. They will actually use our programming that they utilize on site at their schools. And then we will definitely also work with just local programming at churches, in different daycares or facilities to do our young athletes programs. We will also make sure that, any of these types of programming are available to be done in a community model too. So a lot of things happening. We're doing some league play stuff. That's pretty cool. So we're doing a lot of the gridiron team. So we're working with gridiron to offer flag football to our athletes. Florida Elite, we're doing soccer programming. So again, our goal is that if our athletes want to play soccer all year, we want them to play soccer all year. We want to find ways for them to do this year round for themselves. Alternatively, if you have an athlete like Marianne who does 5 different sports, then, we want her to be able to find 5 different sports to play in. So we're really just, very happy with connecting with partners, but also offering the programming to the community as well as the school systems.
Flag football is great. That is one of the sports that I coach. Very popular, and especially in today's day and age with getting away from some of the head-to-head contact from, full contact sports like football. The flag football has the same elements to it, but just without the full-on contact, even though sometimes the kids do have some full-on contact. But it's love that sport, and it is one you can play year-round because you play indoors, outdoors, and yeah, that's a great sport for everybody.
It's huge. And, we do a lot with law enforcement too, which is kind of interesting.
Oh, cool.
They do a lot for awareness for us and fundraising, but a lot with awareness for our athletes. And again, opening up opportunities with them to, be able to participate in local events or community outings. And so we're really proud of that way that we partner with law enforcement as well.
Love that. So I guess as we wind down here, when I always think about like a call to action, and you talked a lot about volunteerism, about how people can get involved with Special Olympics Florida. When you look at kind of like what some of the fundraising needs are from the organization, as well as I know you have a couple an event coming up. Maybe you can talk a little bit about that. What are some of the needs of Special Olympics Florida that the audience and others out there that maybe listen to this might be able to help?
Yeah. So, obviously funding is critical. So, we always have need for funding, especially as we've grown so much, in the last several years. But one of the ways we raise funds is what they call a peer-to-peer model, meaning, Brad, you might start a team and then you're going to ask your friends and family to support you to run a 5K or to do something different. But we put it within a context of a race for inclusion. So the idea is, not only just a fundraise, but also it's a year-round campaign that we're talking about different matters of inclusion of persons with intellectual disabilities. And so we have races starting from as far south as Key West, and then we have something up at Pensacola. different sports, anything from 5Ks to a golf for inclusion. We also have stand-up paddle, swim for inclusion, as Marianne just pointed out. So we have a way for people to come out, activate through fundraising, but also we'll be doing important panels. We have one coming up in July with healthcare systems. So we're working on talking about access to healthcare, quality healthcare for persons with intellectual disabilities, what that looks like, what the needs are still out there. So there's an ongoing campaign and conversation around ways to ensure that people with intellectual disabilities are included, whether it's employment ideas, whether it's housing, transportation, and as I mentioned, healthcare. So that's kind of our call to action, is our race for inclusion. And these events in Florida will be starting this September.
And with respect to that, how would someone kind of, get involved in that process? What does that look like? Is that through your website? Is that through contact?
And we have a raceforinclusion.org page.
Raceforinclusion.org. Okay, cool.
So we have a direct page that way, or again, you can find it through our website at SpecialOlympicsFlorida.org.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a great way to really celebrate in the community and also do, great things for our athletes. So it's really important.
And then last but not least, what's on the horizon for Special Olympics Florida?
Well,
Marianne, what do you have going on this summer?
Marianne's got bowling going on right now, and then I got swimming starting next Sunday, and then I have golf going on.
Awesome.
I stay very busy, and then I have a health presentation that I'm going to be going around the state doing, promoting health within Special Olympics Florida to different groups of people to show them how our health program helps people with intellectual disability.
Yep. Marianne's going to be busy.
You're busy. Yeah, you're busy. You're busier than me. That's phenomenal. Yeah, you have a lot going on. That's good, though. It's good to be busy.
Yeah.
I love to be busy because that keeps you out of trouble.
It does keep you out of trouble.
It does keep you out of trouble. Yeah, no, as Marianne said, I think very focused on advocacy, around the needs for our athletes, the need for inclusion. And then we will be kind of formulating this year Team Florida, which will be going to the USA Games in Minnesota in 2026. So we'll be getting ready to announce that later this year as we make selections, and then they'll be training and getting ready for the training camp. So Special Olympics never ends. It's nonstop.
As you said before, 24/7, 365 days a year. Yeah.
Every day.
It's a
every
revolving
day.
door.
It's a revolving door. Yes. Yeah. And actually, we have an athlete competing in the World Winter Games at Turin, Italy, in downhill skiing. So they practice on the slopes down in Fort Lauderdale. So we're excited to see that as well in 2025. So a lot of great things happening.
Love it. I love to hear it. This was a very insightful conversation. I really appreciate your time, Sherry, Marianne, just spending time with us, sharing with the audience work that you're doing, as well as, Marianne, your personal experiences, which is super relevant. Just hearing how much impact Special Olympics Florida has had, as well as just how much fun you're having, and a lot of the activities you're participating in, and a lot of the programs that exist that have helped you personally, as well as helped many out there. So I really appreciate your time sharing those experiences with us today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brad. Again, we can't thank you enough for getting the awareness out about Special Olympics, and just as we mentioned, the need to continue to drive this movement, the volunteers and the funding, and just, activation by the athletes to get involved. So it all matters, and we really appreciate being part of your podcast.
Love it. And all our audience out there listening, as you have opportunities, you're looking for a volunteer opportunity, you're looking to help another individual in the world, you're looking to get involved, check out Special Olympics Florida, check out an organization that helps so many people. And so, I really appreciate your time today, Sherry and Marianne, and Warriors. Thank you so much for listening. Subscribe and meet us right back here for another episode of With Them Civic Warriors. Bye, everybody.